Let me ask you one simple question. Do your shoes fit? I don't believe you. Hey guys, Harrison here, and today I want to talk to you about something that I'm passionate about, and that is the VIVOBAREFOOT Primus Lite shoe. So before I just start talking about the Primus Lites, let me just give you a little bit of a backstory about my whole life and experience with shoes, footwear in general, because the whole sort of messaging behind the brand of VIVOBAREFOOT and sort of everything they stand for, I didn't really move over to them and buy their shoes for those reasons. So let me just explain a little bit. So I've got large feet. So my feet are, and have probably always been, about a 14. But I used to think by the time my feet got to their biggest, they were a 13. So I've always been looking for a UK 13. But I've always had an issue. So when I've bought shoes or when I've been trying shoes on, I'll go pick them up. I'll pick the trainer off the shelf and I won't even put it on. I'll literally flip it over and put my foot, I'll take my shoe off, put my bare foot on the bottom of the shoe, and if it just like looks like it's already on the edge, I knew it wasn't gonna fit. So I try them on, shocker, they didn't fit. Then when I ever found shoes that did fit when I put them on, I was, and still am, of the firm belief that when you put a shoe on, it should be comfortable from the minute you put the shoe on. Not when you break it in after 6 months, not when the leather's just loosened up a bit. A shoe should fit and feel comfortable when you first put it on. I believe that ever since I've started wearing shoes when I was a toddler, and it's still true today. So anyone out there that says that you've got to break a shoe in, I disagree. Leave a comment down below. If you do disagree, I'd love to have a conversation. You're wrong, but I'd love to talk about it. So fast forward a bit to 2018, and I've been on this quest to try and find some shoes, some trainers, just footwear that fits comfortably all the time. And I've just never been 100% satisfied with any shoes or trainers that I'd ever bought. But I'm always optimistic. There's brands out there that do like, or companies that sell larger shoes or larger clothes and things like that, like Giacomo and other Big and Tall or whatever they're called. But they just sell the larger sizes of brands that are making shoes that are kind of narrow. Like for example, Adidas do narrow shoes. My feet are just naturally too wide for those anyway, so they never fit. Even though they might have had the length, they didn't have the width. Then other shoes might have the width, but they don't go up past like a size 12. And it was always a nightmare online because you can't try them on, and nowhere in store stocks anything above a 12. A UK 12 is rare as well. So it was a whole thing. But I continued to look, and I must have seen like Facebook ads or something. I saw these ads for VIVOBAREFOOT shoes, kept looking at them. And I think the ads at the time were talking about shoes don't fit properly and things like that. So this really kind of was resonating with me when I saw it, because I thought, okay, shoes that don't fit, let me have a look what it's all about. Not one to click on Facebook ads, but I obviously checked out the website, looked at the shoes for ages, and it kept saying things like wide fitting, large toe boxes and things like that. And I was just super intrigued, but just wasn't sure whether it was sort of worthwhile, whether it was hype. And they were also barefoot shoes. Like, what the hell was a barefoot shoe? I just want a shoe that fits my feet. So I wasn't really aware of like going barefoot or anything like that. All I know is that I just want to wear shoes that fit my paddles for feet. So I ended up buying my first pair. These are actually my first pair of Vivos that I ever bought. These are the Primus Lites. So I ordered these June the 11th, 2018. I had a holiday to Japan, a 3-week holiday in Japan booked, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna be walking around a lot, I'm gonna be traveling a bit. Let me just take a punt on these. I'll try them for a few weeks at the office, at work, and we'll just go from there. So I bought them, they arrived on the Monday or the Friday of that week, and then I wore them sort of to and from work. So I have a desk job at the moment, so I'm not doing a lot of walking. I was walking from the car to the office and around the office and going to the shop on breaks. But I wasn't really using and abusing them. So I had a nice, easy transition. So we then flew to Japan. I wore these, great traveling shoes, lightweight. I also took some other pairs of Nike Air Force Ones, I think they were as well, just so I had some other pairs for the evening and things, because these are kind of a casual shoe. They're sort of a trainer, but some nice leather shoes that I had at the time look better in jeans in the evening. Let me just say, if you've heard people talking about transitioning to barefoot shoes or getting used to them in any way, there's a very real thing that you need to consider. I wore these, and I've been, like I said, I've been wearing them for a few weeks in the office, but that was just like probably walking 200-300 yards every now and then and sat down for the rest of the day. And then when I went to Japan, it was brutal because they weren't uncomfortable to wear, but because, I guess because the wide fit and things like that, like allow your feet to actually move, allow your toes to grip and all that jazz, I just had like serious DOMs in my feet. So like, for example, you go to the gym, you lift some weights and you feel sore. That's how my feet felt. It was like my first ever gym session for my feet and toes. So I had that from like a day and a bit of walking around. So it took me about a week and a half to get used to it. And I had to get used to the whole new walking style that you need to adopt as well. But yeah, so that's kind of the story of my first pair. So it was a bit brutal getting accustomed to these, especially on holiday as well, because I only had sort of evening shoes, but I soldiered on, I worked through it, I'm okay. So these soles are super thin. So when you put these on and you step on solid floor, you feel like you're not wearing any shoes, because if anything, the floor feels harder. And that sounds like that doesn't sound very good, but honestly, when you get used to these things, they actually feel great. So like I say, they use recycled materials. Again, all of the pros of like sustainability and recyclable materials and things like that wasn't something that I was looking for when I was looking for a shoe. I literally was just looking for a shoe that fit. And when I got these, I put my feet in them for the first time and they fit. They just fit. I didn't have like the toe. So the toe on a normal shoe, on most shoes, again, I've got big feet. For anyone that wears shoes that has never had an issue, you've not had an issue, but I've had an issue my whole life, and these really stuck out to me. So when I put my feet in them, they just fit. I could wiggle my toes. I could sort of spread my toes out. And after like a week of wearing these, my big toes went from like, my big toes went from sort of crossing over with my other toes to like straight. And now my big toes are basically straight, which is crazy. So for anyone that's got big toes that are like pointing over to their other toes, consider these, or just even maybe rethink the size of your existing shoes, because maybe they're just a bit too small. These are super lightweight. They weigh literally next to nothing. They're like, I think probably like less than a bag of sugar. How big's the bag of sugar? You tell me. The main reason I love these shoes is they just fit. I know I keep saying it, but they just fit. I put these shoes on, they fit. I buy another pair if I put them on. Again, I do follow the same rules that I've always followed. If I put a shoe on and it doesn't feel comfortable, or it doesn't fit, or I have to break it in, it doesn't fit me. And another thing I used to get is like, again, because my shoes just didn't fit, like they'd rub on the sides and I'd literally get numb toes. I don't get any of that anymore. Again, I keep saying it, and I'm gonna say it again. They fit, they just fit. They just fit, they just fit. The nature of these shoes means that they are something to get used to. You need to really take the time to get used to the new feeling of not having a thick cushion beneath your feet when you're walking. So what that means is you feel every stone, you feel every crack on the floor, and this is a pro and a con, because it means that you're actually feeling the ground underneath you for the first time, that you're almost more aware of the ground underneath, which is a plus and a minus. But especially when you're just starting out with these, be very aware that there's a transition period. So like I say, start wearing them just for maybe a few hours a day or anything like that. They do insoles though, so that makes it a little bit easier. Then the goal is to maybe transition out of those, or you transition out of those when you're used to going as barefoot as these will allow, and then you can put them back in in the winter, because that is another thing as well, is when it gets cold out, they're not the warmest shoes either, just because you're so close to the cold ground, it sucks the heat out. But that's what their thermal insoles are for. So I would recommend these, and for anyone that's like, I think probably for like the gym or as an everyday trainer, these things are great. I love them. Yeah, hopefully this video was helpful. Sorry for the light, the sun's like in and out and I'm like adjusting the camera like nobody's business. There's links down below for everything. There's a referral code if you want to use that, guys, for your first pair. And there's also just a link to their website as well. So yeah, so you can check these bad boys out. So that is it from me for now, guys. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.